All right, thanks everyone for coming. Okay, so I'm going to just say a few words and then I'm going to pass it off to Craig, who will say a few words, and then we have individual people who will do each of the presentations. Craig will talk about that. So, good evening. Welcome to a truly special occasion. This is the first ever induction ceremony for the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame. Tonight we gather to celebrate 6 individuals whose passion, skill, and dedication have shaped the course of this sport that we all love. They each, in their own ways, inspired generations of players from all over New England and far beyond. As you know, disc golf started as a largely volunteer grassroots movement and has now grown into a global, dare I say, mainstream sport. The success that we've seen and the growth we've experienced was born from the labors of people like those we honor tonight. Each of the inductees has demonstrated a deep commitment not only to the sport, but to the values of sportsmanship, perseverance, and community that make disc golf so much more than just a game. Their achievements, both on and off the course, for fostering the spirit of the game, have set a standard of excellence for all of us to follow.
Can you bring your mic up a little closer? Thank you.
I could try.
That's great.
Yeah, just go to the mouth.
This evening, we will recognize the hard work, the breakthroughs, and the milestones of each of these trailblazers. Their impact on the sport cannot be overstated, and it is through their efforts and others like them that the disc golf in New England has flourished. As we celebrate their induction into the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame, let us reflect on their contributions and honor their legacy. As you know, each of these inductees in this posthumous class was taken from us far too soon, and so please join me in a moment of silence to honor their passing. Thank you. Now, to our inductees, families, and friends, we extend our deepest congratulations. Their commitment, passion, and determination have earned them this moment in New England history. These individuals are not just athletes, they are the foundation of this sport, and their place in the Hall of Fame is a testament to their lasting impact. To everyone here tonight, thank you for being part of this momentous occasion. Whether you are a player, a fan, or a supporter, your presence and enthusiasm continue to fuel the growth of disc golf. Together, we honor the past, celebrate the present, and look toward the future of disc golf. Now, without further ado, let us begin the ceremony and welcome our newest inductees into the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame. I now turn the stage over to Craig Smolin, Innova-sponsored ambassador, NIFA board member, and my friend for the past decade or so. Craig?
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. And to those of you who have only ever known me by my last name, my first name is spelled C-R-A-I-G. It's my privilege to act as your master of ceremony tonight. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the families of our inaugural class of inductees, their respective presenters, and all of you who have gathered here tonight to celebrate their contribution to our community. The reason we are here tonight is because during the pandemic, I had an idea for a Connecticut Disc Golf Hall of Fame. The Greater Hartford Disc Golf Open was celebrating its 15th anniversary in August 2020, and I wanted to find a way to commemorate the occasion by honoring the long-standing efforts of one of our inductees tonight, Joe Lickby Proud. Wickham opened in April of 2004, and I played my first round there a few weeks later, and was immediately hooked and found myself playing almost daily after work. Within a month, I was playing Sunday doubles with Joe, and many friends who are here with us today. Joe was a spiritual father for so many of us at that time, and he welcomed everyone in with his love and zest for life. He made me feel like I belonged immediately. Not long after we came out of quarantine, I reached out to his co-TD with this grandiose idea, and this nameless individual, who I shall thank later, immediately reined me in and encouraged, I dare say forcibly suggested, that I write an excessively detailed charter and formalize a nomination and induction process. We went through many drafts, but we ultimately had a charter that we were both satisfied with, and we surprised Joe at the GHDGO award ceremony with a plaque designed by Drew Mullen later that summer. Joe wrapped his arms around me and I around him. Not an easy feat for us, given my height and his waistline, but he pulled me close and he whispered into my ear amidst tears that he loved me, and I whispered it back to him. Sadly, we lost Joe in early 2021, and with my own personal life, I lost track of time and the idea of continuing with the Hall of Fame slipped away. So when Bob reached out to our community last year about doing a New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame, I jumped at the chance to resurrect this long gestating idea. Thank you, Bob, for allowing me to be a part of this endeavor, and thank you to Steve Hartwell, Charlie Bessie, and the rest of the Hall of Fame committee for their time and effort over the last several months. I'm truly honored to stand here with each of you. Before we bring up our first presenter, I have more than a few people to thank and to acknowledge. First, thank you to my daughter Elizabeth and my partner Aaron for being here tonight, and my son Benjamin, who's away. Thank you for supporting this 20-year passion of mine. And I hope the stories you'll hear tonight will help you understand why I love it and why everyone in this room loves it. Thank you to Andrew Rich of Orbital Creations for crafting a truly special keepsake for each of the inductees' families. Thank you to Jonathan Poole, Chad Sullivan, and the entire Innova Champion Disc family for their generosity in providing us with the Hall of Fame fundraiser discs. Thank you to Ben Kenny and the entire Disc East team for providing us with this space this evening to share these stories and memories. Thank you to the New England Flying Disc Association Board, including our President Eric Wilson, Vice President Kyle Moriarty, Treasurer Rick Williams, and Secretary John Mucciarone. Thank you to all who are here tonight who also support NEFA. Thank you to our PDGA state representatives, especially Pat DiCaprio, who never hesitates to remind me to do more better. Lastly, thank you to my tournament director mentors, Bill Newman and Whit Cooper. I wouldn't be standing here without their support and guidance throughout the last 10 years. Now, on to our first presenter. I first remember seeing this person's name on the 2004 MSDGC DVD. And if you listen closely, when a certain 2013 USDGC champion aces the castle hole, you can hear his voice yell out, "Brinster!" Please welcome Gary Sear to induct the upstairs.
Thanks everybody for coming. I don't know if maybe I could do this without the microphone, but hopefully everybody hears it as good as they possibly can. So I'm here to induct Dave Stidham, and Dave was born on December. Testing. So Dave was born on December 31st, 1947. Dave was one of 7 children, number 4, and he had the luck of being the only boy among 6 sisters. So at that time, the family lived in Illinois, and the family moved from Illinois to Tennessee early on when Dave was young. They settled in and around Knoxville. While Dave was in Tennessee, he attended high school there and college there. After college, Dave tried a few things. Eventually, he ended up joining the Navy, but unfortunately, a shoulder injury early on in his Navy career took him out of that. Dave always had a very strong desire to help the underprivileged. So Dave became involved in missionary work. And early on, that missionary work took him to places like Nicaragua and many places in the northern part of South America. Then he became interested in Haiti, and on a missionary trip to Haiti in 1989, that's when he met Esther, his wife. In 1990, they decided to get married.
Thank you.
And in 1991, they had their first child, Lena, who's here tonight with her boyfriend, Dylan. They moved to, well, during the 80s, Dave had began working at the Army Corps of Engineers facilities. He had a job that was behind a desk, which he enjoyed, but he didn't like being behind a desk all the time, and he wanted something different. So in 1992, there was an opportunity at a place called Buffinville in Charlton, where they were looking for a head ranger. So after discussing it with Esther, they decided to move to New England, and that's when Dave became the ranger at Buffinville Lake. A couple of years later, after settling in Worcester, they had their other two children, twins, Ruth Jr. and Dave Jr. And if any of you had dealings with Dave early on, you might remember Dave Jr. sometimes tagging along and throwing some frisbees or just hanging out, watching what was going on. Always with him. He's definitely a family man. So Dave worked for the Army Corps of Engineers for a few years, and with these Army Corps of Engineer facilities, oftentimes they get busier in the summer. So they send these facilities, some of them, they send them summer help or temporary help, and oftentimes these are interns or people that are early on in their career with the Army Corps, and they're trying to gain experience in different ways to help develop and build their own career. Well, in 1998, they sent Dave, a young guy who lived in Colorado, and none of us can remember his name, but this kid had played some disc golf out in Colorado. So after spending some time with Dave...
Ryan Longhorn.
Ryan Longhorn? I should have called you.
Ryan Longhorn.
Should have called you. Thanks, Jason. So Ryan convinced Dave that a certain portion of the property would be great for a disc golf course. And that's basically how the golf course started, because these Army Corps of Engineer facilities get part of their funding based upon user groups and how many people come to use the facility. So it was a win-win situation for Dave. And as those of you here realize, Buffinville led us to Thompson and Hodges and Barry and Tully and so on. And it's grown ever since. So that connects Dave to disc golf, but a little bit about Dave the person. There's three things I'm always going to remember about Dave Stidham. And the first one is that Dave never looked away from being a motivator, a mentor, a leader, or somebody that was giving back to people in need, especially youth. And this mentality started very early on for Dave, because before missionary work, before any of us, long before we met Dave, he was a Boy Scout. And he went all the way from being a Boy Scout to being an Eagle Scout, which is the highest honor you can achieve as a Scout. So Dave believed really deeply in what being a Scout and the structure and the growth that it brought to young people. So when they moved to Worcester, being a religious family, they got associated with St. Peter's Church in Worcester. And Dave created a Scout chapter at the church in Worcester. And some of these kids were some of the most challenged and needy kids in the area. And of course, Esther and Dave, being the type of people that they are, they would take these kids, bring them in their home, feed them, clothe them, give them shoes. But more importantly than that, they were there to be a consistent, motivating, dependable presence in the lives of young children in need. In fact, while he was with the church, he brought 6 children all the way to Eagle Scout, including Dave Jr., who achieved that in 2010. So Dave and Esther continued to do missionary work in Haiti. And on one trip shortly after they came to New England, that's when Dave met the gentleman who introduced him to the idea of the fact that up in the mountains, there were villages where the children would get together during the day and go to school. Well, the children went to school under a tree. No shelter, no desks, no chairs, no blackboards, just a tree. And that's when Dave decided it was going to motivate him to build a school up in the mountains for the children of the villages. So how was he going to do that? A number of different ways, but in connection to the disc golf community, that's when Dave decided to start running ice bowls. And he ran his first ice bowl in 2001. And as you know, ice bowls are a PDGA event meant to be given and run for a charity, right? So the charity was to build a school, and he continued to do that. I played in my very first tournament in 2002. It was at the Buffinville Lake Ice Bowl, and I was lucky enough to win that event as a novice. I think the champion of that event sits right there with Dr. Doug Erdman. Am I wrong in that? I think in 2001 you won. I believe so. So after that, Dave started what was known as the Dam Tournament Series, where you would play in one tournament at each course along the way, and that culminated in an event at the end of the year known as the Big Dam 1, where you qualified for points, and they all played against each other for the championship. Well, in 2003, Dave retired as a ranger, but he continued to run the Dam Series, and he became more involved in the Haitian situation with the school, and in fact, they did finish the school and move on to other projects. So the second thing that I'll ever remember about Dave Stidham is that he was one of the most stubborn people that you ever met, right? Backed up by Esther. So the story I have for that was, in 2011, back there, Steve Economos ran a tournament in Worcester on Cook's Pond in February. So obviously the pond was frozen. It was pretty cold that day, and the wind was blowing pretty good. And Dave was in my group. We were playing a hole where you had to cross the lake to get to the basket. You couldn't reach it in one throw. And the wind was coming perfectly in this direction, kind of at 4 o'clock. So most of us were sliding our discs across the ice, trying to get them to go as far as they could without the wind affecting it. Well, Dave throws a shot, and when it skips up, the wind catches it perfectly. And now it's on edge with the wind under it, and it rolls some 300 to 400 feet across the frozen lake to the shore on the other side. Well, Dave, rather than take a non-playable penalty shot there, decides he's going to walk after this disc as it's rolling away, all the way to the shore, turns around into the wind, and starts playing it all the way back. It had to take 20 minutes. I don't know what he carded, but that's the kind of guy Dave was. The last thing I'll remember about Dave Stidham that I'll bring up is he had lost much of his southern accent before he came up here, but there was one particular thing that everybody got him on. And what's that? Whole team. Right? Whole team. So every time they would run a tournament, it would be CTP, or you call out the group on hole 10, it would be starting on hole 10, and everybody in the crowd would start going, hole 10. And you could tell it kind of frustrated him, but I think deep down he really liked it. We loved it. I think he liked it too.
Still say it.
So Esther, we do still say it. You guys do. I don't play that much anymore, but you guys still say it, I'm sure. So Esther and all of us, we lost Dave in March of 2013. And what was Dave doing at the time? He was in Haiti, helping people. So he didn't feel good, so he came home, and a couple days later, unfortunately, he passed away. But what I know of Dave Stidham, I'll bet you that Dave didn't feel good when he left. But Dave had a trip booked, and he had work to do. So he went. That's the kind of guy Dave was, and that's the kind of people that the Stidhams are. So what does Dave's story show us? It shows us that two people who can come together that don't really have a history in disc golf. Dave didn't know anything about disc golf, but they can come together and create something that now 2 decades later has literally affected thousands of people. And that's what the connection of disc golf to the Army Corps of Engineer facilities has really done in helping the sport grow throughout the years here. And that's what Dave wanted. He wanted to affect people positively in all of his motivations. And whether that was disc golf, missionary work, the Scouts, church, or most importantly, his family, that's the way he lived his life. So as Dave looks down on us, wondering why we're making such a big deal about him, those of us that knew him know exactly why we're here and why he's here. So me, I'm just proud that I was asked to represent the disc golf community and thank Dave Stidham for everything that he did for disc golf, for all of us and all of New England. You, sir, deserve to be here.
thank every one of you for being here tonight to honor David. And I know he would love to be here. Even though we don't see him, I know he's here among you. And he would be so proud tonight to be here because this golf was his life. And he loved this golf. And I appreciate you tonight, and I thank you for remember him. Yes. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Just to quickly echo the sentiments my mom just gave, I'm so honored to be here with my mom accepting this honor in remembrance of my father. I remember growing up and playing disc golf and being such a part of the Buffinville course and all the developments he made there, so it's really inspiring to see how far the disc golf community has come since then. So again, I appreciate the honor and being here to be able to accept this with my mom, so thank you.
Our next presenter, I don't think used my first name until today in any conversation that he and I have ever had over the last 20 years. He's told me that I am the most well-intentioned pain in the ass he's ever met. Please welcome the last man still putting with the Vibram disc, and the father of the two most handsome identical twins, Greg Wintrob, to Induction.
Thank you for that introduction. All of it was true. I am Greg Wintrobe, NIFA 819, PDJ 23857. And it is an honor to be here tonight representing, or on behalf of New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame, to induct Mr. Joe Proud, aka Lick Me, into the inaugural class. And it's just an honor standing here and remembering everybody else that's in this class as well. Amazing honor. Joe Lick Me Proud, NIFA 24, PDJ 2773. He was the disc golf godfather. He had a huge scope of influence. He knew everything, everyone. He was a family man, course developer, player, volunteer, leader of our community. He inspired us with his vision, his commitment, and his passion. Lick was the nickname king. You know what the nickname like? Joe Lick Me Proud, you gotta be the king.
Small lick a gacka choke a gagga spew.
One more time.
Small lick a gacka choke a gagga spew.
Yeah. So he would give out these lovely nicknames to everybody, and especially his family. And we've got his wife Mary here tonight. Marry me.
Sarah had to step out with the baby.
Okay, yep, Sarah. Her nickname's Not Me, and Lappy, his son, couldn't make it today, but he really wanted to be here as well.
Well, Mason's North Carolina.
His dog was bite me.
So we love Lick, and we've become family. One just largest disc golf family over the years. But we're here to discuss his impact. And, one of the things he did was he was a TD, and he was an exceptional TD. He's inspired many others to become TDs, and just impacted the world of the players just immensely that way. His hospitality and his parties were epic. If you guys have ever been to one, and I see most of you here, but they were something else. He's been running events. I guess, I saw a picture the other day. He ran an overall championship in the late '80s. So he was running stuff for a long, long time. Look at GHDGO. It was 20 years tournaments. It started in 2005. It was a one-day 36-hole tournament. I don't know if you guys ever played 36-hole tournaments, but those aren't fun. So we kind of figured it out, especially at Wick, it's so long. But for the past 12 years, he got to an A tier. Had so many epic moments there, and some of the past champions include Will Shoestrick, Bradley Williams, Matty O, Matt Bell, Ricky Wysocki. What?
Bobby.
Well, yeah, well, we weren't going to go into that, but that was an epic moment as well. Well, you know, he did get McBeast that one time, and we don't need to talk about that. Don't need to pump up Bobby anymore. You can watch it later. He also did this tournament called the Lickathon. And if anybody knew about that one, it was crazy. So 3 courses, and at his house, at Licks Links, and you play through through his neighborhood. Pools are OB, you know, you just these parties. Early days of the MSDGC, he was the leader of fun over there, let me tell you. He gave some haircuts that you would not want to show your mother.
I should have got one.
For tonight? Yeah.
Tonight, yeah.
So he ran many events and impacted many people. As a leader, he was captain of Team WIC, the New England Disc Golf Team Challenge, and led us to 4 APO championships. He was a CT Connecticut PDGA coordinator. So he'd send people to the USDGC, send me one year, and he would do all the scheduling of the tournaments. He was also a NIFA VP in the early days. I think, Mr. Southwick, were you the president for him when those 5 years or whatever?
3 years.
3 years?
Yep.
So you can imagine that lineup and how they let that NIFA group. Yeah, it's great.
Slim Pickens.
We also did this thing back in the day. That's another party. It was the NIFA auction.
Yeah. That was the best.
It was the best. And he was the auctioneer, and he would stand up, and if you even looked at him wrong, he would whack you for $40.
$5?
Yep.
$50.
So it was a fall out of your seat, fall in the fire kind of fun, but as a course developer, he installed and designed Wicker Park and Panthorn Park. Wick is one of the best in Connecticut. A mix of long, open holes in contrast with tight, technical wooded holes with elevation and a wind machine. People inspired by Lick have installed at least 12 courses that I can count in Connecticut. I've done 2, Smoley's done 1 and something else, yeah. And then all the guys on Team Wick, there gotta be another 8, 10 courses there, so just the godfather of Connecticut disc golf. As a player, he was a crazy good putter. He prized his air bounce. It was coming. Once he held the record for the longest ace, 423 feet. Crazy. 2020, Nova gave him a course steward award. And so he was a player. But he was so much more. He was a gardener, turf specialist, a barber, mobile disc store, and a dog lover. As a volunteer, he led work days which were truly inspirational, and we just loved it. They were so much, it was as fun as playing. And he would preach, leave it better than the way you found it. So, he really inspired me and a bunch of people just to make this community better. And, think about how disc golf makes you feel and try to spread that feeling to others by volunteering to support our community. I think we definitely both felt that way at the time. So Lick was the godfather of Connecticut disc golf. He made significant contributions to our sport. After he passed, it took 6 of us to do the jobs, all the disc golf jobs that he had. The man had it, man. He had it. To me, he was a brother, a father, a mentor, a captain, a friend. That's Lick. He had it. So without further ado, we're going to present this plaque to Mary Proud in honor of Joe Lick Me Proud.
Just Thank you all.
Well, if anybody's interested in buying a big collection of discs, just let us know, okay?
It's not often you get to induct the same guy into two different Hall of Fame, so it's truly special. Greg, you're.
Thank you, Smoley.
Thank you. So, our next presenter has been the NEPA historian since before I think I ever threw a disc golf disc. I can remember many tournaments throughout New England where the entire Hartwell clan would be present. Please welcome Steve Hartwell to induct Theo Sonny Cave.
Hold on. I'm getting old. I would like to present Theo Cave, or Sonny, as we all knew him. He's a 2025 inductee to the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame. I don't know how many of you actually knew Sonny. Okay, a few hands, that's good. Because he was from way back. He was from when disc golf was just getting started in New England in the 1980s and the 1990s. He and his wife, Jude, they lived in a big white house on this wonderful property on top of a hill in Princeton, Massachusetts, down the road from Mount Wachusett. The best feature, besides being Sonny's house, was that it had enough acreage for a short, technical, dastardly disc golf course that wound down the slope and through the trees to 18 homemade baskets. This was just nirvana to us starved disc golf addicts, because there were no pole hole courses in New England back then. They were like free, and they were all on private property. And Sonny's was on private property, but we became friends with him, so it was awesome. So a little bit of background. Sonny grew up in Indiana, graduated from the University of Illinois. He got his doctorate in psychology from the University of Hawaii. So while he was working as a psychotherapist out there, he began tossing frisbees around Waikiki Beach, all right? So his passion for a frisbee player started there, and then he moves to San Diego, which was really big in the early frisbee scene in the early 80s. He started playing overall disc tournaments. So back then, way back then, we didn't just play disc golf. We played other disciplines, so distance, accuracy, double disc court, discathon, maximum time aloft, and freestyle. So you got to learn all that. We're going to bring overall back here.
Yes.
And guts, right? So Sonny was actually on, they had a huge tournament, overall tournament called the US Open. He was on staff out there for WAMA. And he won an overall Grandmaster title out there for his prowess. So he was very, very well versed in golf, but also in the other disciplines as well. So let's see, I've got to run my clicker. There we go. How did I meet Sonny? This is important. In the spring of 1987, a non-Frisbee friend from Lancaster, Mass, calls me up to say that there's this article in the Worcester paper about some Frisbee guy in Princeton. So I found Sonny's number. I went to directory assistance, and I called him up, and I was invited out for a visit. So Sonny had this big energy. He loved getting people together. He loved having people over. He loved connecting people. Note this quote from the article. To me, the people are the most important. Disc golf is a great sport for people to try when they haven't excelled in other sports. If you play, you have instant family and friends. So Sonny had already formed the Central Mass Frisbee Club with several enthusiasts in his name in the area. So less than a year later, we got some more people together, and we went out to Sonny's house and played. We sat in his living room and decided we need to think bigger. So let's form the the New England Frisbee Association, or NIFA, in 1988. And that's when it was born. It was born in Sonny's house. So he had this fabulous backyard course, but he knew he couldn't open it to the public. But Goodnow Park was adjacent to his house, and it had the same tight and hilly terrain, so he worked with the town of Princeton to get a permanent course installed there in 1990 with 18 holes and 9 baskets, and we were just thrilled. So, there's some more pictures. There's Sonny's house up on the left. We're all sitting on the porch there, and there's Sonny putting at one of his homemade baskets. So he served as vice president and secretary of our little organization of 25 people in the 1980s and the 1990s. He also wrote for our quarterly publication of the NIFA News. If you want to come see some of his writing, we have it at the NIFA booth in the other room. So in the top 2 photos, that's the NIFA stuff, and we always had a NIFA meeting, and then we had a round of disc golf. I mean, that was standard fare for, and he would always feed his troops, which was wonderful. So Sonny's years of experience helped him become accomplished in not just playing in, but also running the events that we held. So in the bottom 2 photos, Sonny is helping out at the 1996 World Masters Tournament at Borderland State Park, where people from all over the world came to play all the, disc golf and all the other sports. So he's making announcements there, he helped to run it. And then on the right is an awesome picture, I have it on my wall. He teams up with the tournament director, Greg Black, and that's the grandfather of disc golf, Dan Stork-Roddick, for a freestyle routine on the right, in front of the castle at Borderland State Park. So Theo was just someone you would never forget. He just passed away this last year. I'm sorry, I hadn't seen him in 10 years. But his passion, his big energy, his dedication and spirit, they moved the sport of disc golf forward in the early days of New England Frisbee history. So thank you, Sonny. Sonny has a brother, but he's in Illinois and couldn't make it, so I'm going to mail him his disc.
All right, moving on. Our next presenter once held the world distance record. He once regaled me with a story about his teaching days, where he'd tell his students they'd all get an A for this semester if anyone could outthrow him. To the best of my knowledge, no one ever did. Please welcome Davis Johnson to induct Billy Mack McGrady.
Okay, this is an honor to be here for Billy and for everybody here. You're going to find a lot of the stories here overlap each other. Here's one. I got to start with an anecdote. It's a beautiful summer day at one of Jason Southwick's pyramids competitions, and we had a dream foursome. It was Billy, Brent Sanderson, Lick Me, Joe Proud, and myself. And we were kind of waiting to tee off at one of the tees again on this beautiful sunny day, and we got this sort of this mock little mano thing going, Manly Brent. And Lick kind of challenged each other. Lick said, okay, I bet you can't move me if you run into me. Go ahead, run as hard as you want into me, and I won't move. So Brent revs himself up, runs into him, and ends up immediately flat on his back. And this is why we love this. Anyway, let me bring you back to 1998. Let's have a look at the disc golf scene. And Steve somewhat already introduced this. There was just a smattering, a very small number of permanent public courses in the ground. Most were newly established, like Amesbury, Marston Mills on the Cape, Princeton's Goodnoe Park, and of course Theo Sunny's famous and charmingly eccentric 18-holer. And Steve said there were 18 baskets here, but he forgot the gobbler. Oh, how could you forget the gobbler? The gobbler was something that if the disc got there, it was kind of like playing pinball. You know, the thing went up and down, and I believe another inductee tonight had a hole-in-one on that. Toddy Broder, I believe he did. Anyway, there wasn't much around. This is still the era unimaginable today where most tournaments depended on the TD to tow the trailer load of 18 NIFA baskets to be planted that day in the ground that morning before anything got started, so they'd have to get there at 5 in the morning to do this. And then at the end of the day, after the tournament was over, TD and any helpers he could find had to load them all back into the cart again. And the next TD director would take them on to the next tournament. This is how we played for years. The famous NIFA 18. So, and nearby pyramids in Leicester, well, it had just graduated from an experimental period of milk cartons mixed with pole holes. And I think maybe it had just about gotten 18 pole holes by that time. Maybe Jason.
Someone from Sonny's house. We had the gobbler for a while.
You had the gobbler there?
Yeah, when Sonny moved away.
I forgot about that. So, let's think about this. This was a sport in which nobody was making a living on it, believe me. Was anybody making a killing? Nope, nobody was quitting their day jobs. Enter Bill McWilliams. You had to get around him sometime. He got wind that a temporary ranger had planted a pole target disc golf course at the Army Corps of Engineers. When I say pole, I don't mean poles, it's just a bunch of stakes in the ground. Marking where you hit the stake, you hold out. And Bill, who has one of the more winning personalities of anybody I've ever met, he went and basically made contact with this person, and the awe-inspiring and scenic Buffinville Dam disc golf course was born as of that. Those poles turned into 18 pole holes, which were made in the garages at the Corps of Engineers there, under Dave Stidham's, and we were so lucky to have a bureaucrat like Dave Stidham love disc golf. I mean, that was great. So all of this stuff, everybody here, it just comes together, and all these relationships that really help bring disc golf into its own community. So I would say that the establishing of Buffinville was maybe the penultimate moment in the disc golf history of Massachusetts. Why? Because I think it's the spark that started the fire. Pretty soon, Buffinville became so popular as a disc golf haven that family groups and others cluttered the course on weekends to where you couldn't find a place to play. Especially if you're a serious player. You're behind 7 people having a picnic and throwing discs secondarily. So that got old. So people started looking for new venues. And I think a lot of them came across pyramids, for one. And a light went off in a certain Mr. Jason Southwick's active brain, a spark. And he said, just maybe I can develop a pay-for-play course and sell discs. And we all know how that turned out. That's just
Walk across the street.
Right. And one of his main caretakers ideal here.
I'm too old for that.
Nothing that I've seen. So anyway, Billy Mack really tied this together. This is winning personality that not only got Buffinville going, but also the other Corps of Engineer courses, Barry Falls, Hodges nearby. And I would describe Billy Mack, therefore, as having been the Johnny Appleseed of disc golf course development in central Massachusetts. Along with Buffinville, I said that already. okay. You're supposed to be first, but I'm out. So anyway, Bill also was a real competitor, great player. He had probably the best sidearm in New England. He was a fierce competitor, but one of the more graceful and sporting people I've ever played with. A lot of us would have breakdowns and temper tantrums one time or another. But not Bill. Bill always just had a smile on his face, and he blew a shot. It's okay. The rest of us would half die. Bill was also an active member of NIFA, volunteering on work days, and he served the term as vice president of the organization. But towards the end of his too short life, his illness compromised his energies and abilities to compete in our beloved pastime. He always remained the gracious and positive person he had always been, inspiration to us all on how to deal with adversity. In conclusion, Bill was a salesman in the best sense of the word, and before he too soon sailed away from us, in his energetic persuasiveness and good humor, Bill left a thriving disc golf scene that owes a lot to his pioneering efforts. And I am really proud to help usher Billy Mack in as an inaugural member of the New England Flying Disc Hall of Fame. And I know his brother Dave is here and might have a few words to say as well, and I'd like to invite him up.
I don't think I'm going to need that. I just want to say thanks for the family. We're all very proud of this. I know my brother would be very honored to be receiving this from all of you. He was a competitor, but more so, he was a teammate. He loved the people that he competed with. So as much as he loved playing, it was more important that he be with you. And I remember the stories he would tell me. I'm not a golfer, disc golf anyways, but the relationships that he built with each and everyone that he played with was more important to him than anything but his family. So I just want to say thank you for the time you spent with him and the impact you had on his life. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. So we're going to have a memorial tournament for Billy in June. I believe it's going to be June 21st at the New England Disc Center in Southwick, Mass. So I would love to have as many of you as can make it out there to join us. The money's going to benefit a local land trust so that we can continue to conserve land so that we have the opportunity to go out there and enjoy nature, which is really kind of hand in hand with what you folks do. So thank you very much. I hope thank you for your work.
All right. Tonight, I actually met our next presenter in person for the first time ever. Although I think we crossed paths more than once on the old NIFA boards. Please welcome Sean Franchi to induct Vinny Steele.
To start with a couple of thank yous. Thanks everybody here who's at this important first event.
Mike.
Just gonna bite it. And thank the committee, the HOF committee. You know, it must have been some hard decisions picking who got into this first class of inductees. And speaking of first class, the person who nominated Vinny, Josh Gibson, I'm not sure if he's here, but I didn't even hear about this Hall of Fame thing. I had sold Flat Rock and kind of been out of the business for a little bit. And I saw it, I'm like, holy cow. I immediately called Vinny's brother, and he's here. So
I had to call Josh and say, Josh, I knew what kind of qualities Vinny had regarding disc golf and why he was nominated, but I had to touch base with Josh. And, the first thing he said was, Vinny was just always there, volunteering to run a league. He'd hand out discs to people. He'd welcome everybody. And I got to thinking about Vinny. And I'm like, that word always, it really fit with Vinny. No matter where you went, somebody always knew Vinny there. Vinny was always there for a work day at Buffinville, West Thompson, Pyramids.
Team Kick-Ass. We did Team Kick-Ass all the way to New York.
Yeah.
And Vinny was there.
Vinny was, Maple Hill has a wall of steel on their most iconic hole, hole 8, has a plaque. I think it might be up there. He was just always the first to volunteer to work. I met him in 1999 at Buffinville. He ran the league there on Sunday mornings for like 4 or 5 years. Never missed a day, I don't think. Not long before we lost him, he came up to Flat Rock one afternoon and we were packing up my van to go up to Vermont to a disc golf course up in North Calais. And I'm like, Vinny, what are you doing? He said, I just figured I'd stop by. I'm like, when's the last time you took a day off from work or called in sick? And he's like, never. Yeah. No kidding, you always go to work. I said, well, not tomorrow. You're coming with us to Vermont. So we kidnapped him. First thing we get out of the car, Paul Olander, the course owner, hadn't seen Vinny in probably 12 or 15 years. And he says, Vincent Steele, how the hell are you? So again, no matter where you were, somebody always knew Vinny. Let me just check my notes here, I don't want to miss anything. So, if you were lucky enough to play around with Vinny, you might remember that he was always forgetting either his insulin or some apparatus that he needed to finish the round. There is no rushing Vinny Steele, okay? So you're in for a round of golf, but you know what? You were lucky if you got to play with him. So he had some nicknames. That came up earlier. Joe Proud nicknamed people. I'm not sure if he gave any of these to Vinny, but Vinny Bag of Donuts, Monkey Boy, Vintage. If he was still around today, I think I'd call him Vinny Always There Steele. And I know he'll always be remembered. Thank you. Vinny's brother and some other family members are here to... Come on up, Joe.
It's an honor to accept this from my brother. I miss him. So will we forever. Thank you all.
One more presenter. This gentleman joined the PDGA in 1981, receiving membership number 1889. He played his first event in Kingston, Rhode Island that year, with 12 other, some would say legendary New England people, including Phil Kennedy, Anthony T.J. Barber, Dave Silverback Jones, and our very own Rick Williams. Please welcome Roy Dorr to induct Todd Thomas.
Wow.
hard. It's hard to be upbeat considering these are practically eulogies, but I'll be as passionate and as honest as I can. I'm Roy Dorr, PDGA 1889, NIFA 16, and lifetime member of the Toddy Broder fan club. That's a huge membership, by the way. But I'll get to more of that in a minute. Let me now take you back 50 years to before discs had pointed edges, when they were all frisbees. We were done probably with organized sports in school, and a lot of us around the country, hundreds, thousands, discovered we were pretty good at playing catch. We focused on the catch. We worked at it until the middle knuckle of our middle fingers bled. If only we knew at that time we could put our first finger underneath and throw it 25% further and no blood. But anyway, there was a critical mass around the country where all this occurred, and we got pretty good at playing catch. Well, at some point, there were some folks so focused on playing catch that they turned playing catch into an art form. Advanced 25 years now, and the sport evolved into freestyle, where the essence was delaying the catch indefinitely with airbrushes and nail delay. It wouldn't end. The freestylers were the acrobats, the performers, the dancers of our sport. And Toddy was one of these. He was one of the best of one of these. So good that he was a world freestyle champion. Twice. He was so good at it that he eventually became in demand as an entertainer and a mentor, a teacher. He actually could make a living showing hundreds and hundreds of kids in his demonstrations the magic of playing frisbee. So he was an artist. Fortunately for us, disc golfers, he had other pursuits with his art. Growing up in his dad's auto body shop, his skills as a metal worker and welding intersected with his appreciation for disc golf, and he created the Taj Mahal.
I'm young, and I experienced that basket over at a friend's course who's been playing disc golf since '79. And he had those baskets, and I thought that was the coolest frickin' thing in the world.
You're right.
Hey, you're available.
It is.
Forever.
Now, granted,
That is so awesome.
Granted, that's one of the, that's a little rough looking, but with a coat of paint, it gleams. And even powder coated, oh man. There may be 60, 70, at the most 100 Taj Mahals out there. Fortunately, 19 of them made it up to a course already mentioned in northern Vermont, the oldest course in Vermont, North Calais disc golf. When I heard that I was going to be, when I agreed to do this, I reached out for memories of Toddy, and I contacted Paul Olander, the owner of North Calais. What I consider, or have often referred to as the Augusta National of our sport. And he got back to me with an email, and this is some of what he sent me. Nope. Hold on a second.
Email?
Glasses. Toddy Broder was a hero to us here at North Calais. From the beginning, he supported the NCDGC and disc golf in Vermont. He was among the 24 or so NIFA members who came up here for our first NIFA tourney in August of '94 and played our posts. After several years struggling with the NIFA portables,
Yeah.
and our much despised plastic bucket holes, Toddy approached us with a super sweet deal on a set of Taj Mahals. Without a doubt, they were and are the purest shaped and most beautiful disc golf targets out there. I don't think Toddy ever missed a Vermont State overall flying disc tourney, bringing with him a number of world champion freestylers to dance with frisbees on my back lawn. He was such a wonderful ambassador for all disc sports. As we're fond of saying, whenever a too low putt skates up that sweet in-curving basket rim and slides in, bless you, Toddy. Bless you, Toddy. That's a good one. In fact, the Taj Mahal sort of turned our targets from municipal park equipment to yard art. And we're lucky for that. There's lasting. But Toddy was an artist in the art of life. Anybody that knew him knew that when you had a conversation with Toddy, it always involved a laugh. His joy in the encounter couldn't be contained or expressed in a smile. It became a laugh. His laugh was music, unfiltered, loud, contagious, infectious. And that may be the best gift of all. I mean, how many times after a round was my mood determined by my score? And along the way, whether it was playing with Todd, or I realized it wasn't so much my score that mattered, it was who I played with and how much I appreciated the quality shots. And this was a gift of Toddy's as well. Because he knew that he was one of those that knew that it wasn't how much stuff you have, it was how much fun you have that is that secret in life. In closing now, well, last spring we lost him. He was a sweet man, a kind spirit, a gift. We lost him and we miss him, clearly. None more so than his family and his beloved Samantha. But his lasting gift, his joy, his art, it remains. Let me say thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. By the way, there's a number of future Hall of Famers in this room, I know. As you head out, remember, drive carefully, but putt like Todd. This was his card, and this was his uniform. So thank you, guys. Accepting for Toddy, and I'll get it to Samantha, or we'll make sure that it does.
Yes. Thank you, Roy.
Too many hands.
Not enough. Before we close out tonight, I want to thank all of you for being here. I see a lot of out-of-towners. I see a lot of PDGA Hall of Famers, a lot of future New England Hall of Famers. Thank you all for being here. So to close out tonight, I'd like to welcome back Steve Hartwell to share 50 years of New England disc golf history with pictures and some additional stories.
No, don't worry. It's late. I'm not going to go through all 50 years. So I've been NEFA's historian for a while, and I helped co-found it. But what I wanted to do with this perspectives piece was put into perspective the accomplishments of our inductees and how much they made a difference in our disc golf history. So what do we need, and what do we still need to grow the sport of disc golf, right? We got to have courses to play. We got to have events so we can have some camaraderie and competition. And we got to have outreach. We got to educate. We got to promote. We got to reach out. We got to give back to the community. And these 6 inductees helped with all 3 of these. So first, the courses. Have a look at this comparison of the local course directory pamphlet on the left from 30 years ago, featuring 12 courses, and not all of them had pole holes. That was all of New England. Now look at the UDisc map, which I shot, a couple days ago. That's hundreds of courses, but I can't all count the dots. There might be 1,000. I don't know. But our inductee course builders searched for properties. They designed the fairways. They obtained the permissions. They raised the funds. They worked the construction. Without them, we don't have courses. So, what about events? We've been holding disc golf events in New England since the 1970s. If you want to look there closely, on the left, that's our inductee, Joe Lick Me Proud, and his wife Mary, running the 1986 New Englands in Bristol, Connecticut.
Don't forget Rye over there.
And on the right, we have our very first golf tournament at Berry Falls Dam, run by Billy Mack in 1990, on a course that he helped design. So these and the other inductees helped pave the way for modern times, where we now have PDGA majors and Disc Golf Pro Tour events with hundreds of competitors and thousands of dollars in prize money. Just remember that it all started back there, and their dedication helped get us here. There's one more ingredient for growing the sport, and that's outreach. So on the left, that's a NEFA News article from Sonny Cade in 1988, and he was pumping up the success of a Frisbee fundraiser for handicapped skiers at Wachusett Mountain. And then on the right is Dear Toddy, who in 1999, as the Frisbee coach, helped turn on my 8-year-old son to disc sports. This is dedication and spirit that brings the courses and the events and the people together to grow this wonderful Frisbee disc golf community. So thanks everyone. If you want to talk some more history, stop by the NEFA booth, and I'll now turn it back over to Bob for final remarks. Thank you.
Hear me? Yep. All right, well, thank you everyone. I wasn't really sure how this was going to turn out, if anyone was going to show up, but I'm honored.
It was great.
Humbled.
Oh, it was great.
Working alongside some of the greats in New England. When I started playing this game in 2012, so I'm a relative baby. We have Davis Johnson here, who's been playing the sport forever. We have back there in the back, Casey White, who started when I started. And, I'm just humbled, and I think there's going to be a lot. There's a lot of people in this room that will be future inductees. We as the committee certainly want to, if people are interested in becoming part of the committee, certainly reach out to me because we definitely want to have as many people represented as possible. We want to make sure that future candidates are nominated and are nominated properly, and we are able to honor as many people as we can. Because, the sport has done a lot for me. I played Ultimate for 25 years or so, and then I switched over to disc golf. And I've always personally tried to give back. I was on the board of Buddha, which is the ultimate version of NIFA, for about 10 years, and I've been on the NIFA board for a while. And just working alongside these legends is humbling for me. And you all should, especially people who have started in the last 10 years, 5 years, whatever, just know that a lot of people dedicate a lot of their lives to making sure that we have all the courses that we have, the foundation that we have, and there's some real legends in this room. So, thank you all for
Can I say
coming.
something?
History is important.
Before you start clapping, I want to give a big thanks to Jason Southwick.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. I'm Marshall Street, but without Marshall Street, Jason Southwick bringing this community together. Even the freestylers, they know.
That's next year, Gil.
I need to buy my first frisbee at his house for $3 or $3.50 for a real.
I'm driving Gil home tonight.
Without pyramids started early, but Marshall Street started.
No, I'm not dead yet.